We're going to start with our top story. Lindsay Clancy's murder trial is resuming this morning, and closing arguments could begin as early as today. The defense rested its case on Friday. Its final witness was a forensic psychiatrist who testified that Clancy was clearly psychotic on the night she killed her 3 children. You are looking at a picture of the courtroom as we're expecting the proceedings to begin shortly. The prosecution is expected to present its rebuttal witnesses. Clancy has pleaded not guilty in the 2023 deaths of her 3 young children. She did admit to killing them, but her lawyers argue she was suffering severe postpartum psychosis. CBS News correspondent Shanelle Kaul has more from Plymouth, Massachusetts.
So before the defense rested its case on Friday, we heard from their star witness, Dr. Philip Resnick. This is someone who is a forensic psychiatrist, also someone who testified in a number of high-profile trials, including, of course, Andrea Yates. When it comes to this case, he says he evaluated Lindsay Clancy 4 months after the night of the tragedy, and he says in his assessment she was going through postpartum psychosis the night all of this happened, and thus, he argues, she should not be held criminally liable. Listen.
She was hearing a voice which was commanding her to engage in the killing behavior, and she did not feel any sense of control. She felt that she had to obey the instructions she was receiving.
But immediately after Dr. Resnick's testimony wrapped up and the defense rested its case, as part of the prosecution's rebuttal, they brought in their own forensic psychiatrist who testified, and that medical expert said he didn't agree with that perspective. He said in his evaluation, in his perspective, Lindsay Clancy was undergoing what he called a major depressive episode the night all of this happened, and he said he found no signs of mania. Today, we're expecting to hear from 2 more medical experts that prosecutors plan to call to testify in front of jurors before closing arguments get underway. Back to you.
All right, Shanelle, call for us. Thank you, Shanelle. We're joined now by CBS News legal contributor Caroline Polisi, who's also an attorney. Caroline, how would the jury weigh these 2 diagnoses of Clancy's mental health and her mental state when she killed these children?
Yeah, this case actually rises and falls on what the jurors believe with respect to these 2 battling, really diametrically opposed forensic psychologists that we heard from on Friday. And we're going to hear more rebuttal witnesses today from the prosecution. But essentially, the defense is arguing, we heard a clip there, that Lindsay was experiencing a descent into a bipolar 2 diagnosis disorder in which she then had postpartum psychosis, which is a really rare but real and documented form of an emergency mental health crisis. And so the idea, that the doctor said she was not operating in a state of mind where she knew right from wrong, nor was she able to conform her conduct. So she heard a voice, an auditory hallucination, and she couldn't resist it, right? She was in a dreamlike state, he said, like a puppet being pulled by strings. Now, the prosecution put on an expert saying, no, she was in a severe postpartum depression, but it wasn't psychosis. She knew what she was doing was wrong, and she would have been able to conform her conduct to the law. That's the crux of this case.
The prosecution's expert said there's no reason that psychosis in and of itself inhibits a person's ability to know right from wrong. Yeah. Which, I don't know, if you don't know what you're doing, I don't know how you can have that moral decision. And then do both of these experts spend time interviewing her? I know that the defenses spent hours 4 months after this happened interviewing her, so he obviously would have a great familiarity with her mental state. But what about the prosecution's person?
Yeah, that was one of the really contentious points on cross. You guys, this was the most heated I've seen this trial get, culminating in the judge almost really admonishing the prosecution's expert, saying, answer the questions, look at the attorney, don't go off on tangents. But he didn't. He interviewed her years after the crime took place, and he didn't interview any we call them collateral witnesses, so he didn't verify the information, and that was a huge point of attack that the defense got in.
Caroline, really quickly, I know you're coming back in the next hour, but did they establish a motive, and do you need to establish a motive when you are prosecuting a case like this? Or at least doesn't the jury need to feel as if that there is a motive.
Of course, it's not a legal element, but of course. So what the prosecution argued in its opening was that this was a woman who they said no longer wanted the life she thought she wanted, no longer liked it, okay? And that she knew she wanted to, because there was a suicide attempt. She wanted to leave and she wanted to take her kids with her. And so, yeah, I mean, people want to know. I don't think that what bore out in the evidence, I don't know if that motive was entirely clear.
Yeah, that's what I was
And the
wondering
defense
as well.
is arguing that she didn't think that her children could survive without her, and so she wanted to take them with her. I mean, both ways, any way that you cut it, it's just really horrific. But thank you so much for bringing your expertise to helping us understand.